Welcome to Amateur Redneck Workshop. I'm Harold, and today we're going to repair the damage I caused by letting my rifle go bouncing down the stairs. There's not any bent metal, or broken glass or anything like that, but there's scratches on the barrel that need to be re-blued, make it all nice and shiny again. So that's today's project. Let's get on with it. Daisy's keeping the place kind of occupied, and making sure she's got enough equipment there to keep her busy. But what we're going to look at is the damage. And you can see here there's the skin places on the barrel. Around the other side here, the big old skin spot and so on. And the scope got a couple little scratches on it there. I don't know what I'm going to do about them. Probably a little, maybe felt tip pen cover that up. But other than that, the stock has no damages. Nothing else has got any damage. Just, skins and scrapes. So what we're going to do is take it apart, clean all the oil off of there with some degreaser, and we'll get a bottle of blue and we'll make it black again. Makes sense, don't it? Use blue to make it black. Now, just in case there's any safety Nazis here, which is pretty hard to get away without them, we're going to show that she's empty. Not only are we going to prove that it's empty, we're going to take the bolt out anyway here in just a second. But we'll take the scope off first, which is a pretty simple matter. Unscrew a couple of these little jobs here, and he's off. And you can see all the scope damages there. Well, it did cut this little rubber elastic band. All right, so now all we need to do is to get the bolt out of there. Do that by holding back on the trigger and the bolt's out. Now then, it couldn't fire if it wanted to. I'm going to leave the magazine in there. It doesn't have anything in it. It's not going to bother us. And I'm going to get the right size Allen wrench to undo these two guys here, and we'll separate the barrel from the stock so we don't get the stock wet, when we're working on the rest of it. So hang loose while I go find an Allen wrench. Alright, so today's Allen wrench is metric. So we'll metrically remove all this good stuff by removing these two little screws. I think they stay in the stock. No, they don't. Okay. Some guns they stay in the stock for you, and some they don't. Obviously, this is one that doesn't. I guess that might stay in. And there you are. Trigger group and everything's still hanging on it, which is a sign of a better made rifle. If the trigger stays out here in the stock, that's not a good thing. You're going to have trouble coupling the two of them together, make it hard to pull the trigger, like my Marlin 60. But we've got all this stuff loose now, and we can take it out and degrease it and blue it and come back and put it back together. Well, I had to stop and watch a YouTube video on the untold history of Smith & Wesson, and I found it extremely interesting. Even if you don't like guns, the history of Smith & Wesson should be pretty interesting to you too. At least that's what I think. Anyway, I've got the packing material here from a box of stuff that Chuck Bomarito sent me a while back. He had all this plywood inside of one of the specials, what do they call them? Anyway, the post office's special little delivery boxes. And the first thing I come to was the top piece, and it had his channel logo on it, and I thought, well, why in the world did Chuck send me a piece of plywood with his logo on it? Well, I had the box halfway empty before I realized he had Liptonized the box. Tom Lipton worked out a way where you can just fit pieces of plywood together inside one of those post office boxes, and you don't have to screw it together or nothing. The box holds the stuff in position, and the plywood takes all the beating and pounding from being thrown around. Works great. So anyway, I'm using it to hold my little miniature barrel here of degreaser. And it won't take a lot of degreaser. Just enough to, yeah, well, I don't get too much. You just need enough to put on the barrel and wash it off. And all I'm going to do is take this barrel outside in the backyard, and I'm going to take a couple of paper towels and I'll wipe this stuff down with that degreaser, and then I'll take a water hose and I'll wash it off, and then I'll do that again, all while keeping it pointed down so that I don't have water or degreaser in the barrel. That way I don't have anything getting down here to the trigger group and causing me troubles. Okay? And then when I get through with that, I'll come back in here, get some of this super glue and another paper towel, and I'll wipe the super glue on it, let it set for about a half a minute. I think that's what the instructions are on this particular bottle. Go out and wash it off with a water hose, come back, put more glue on it, go back out, wash it off with a water hose until I get the amount of coverage I want to cover up all these dings and scratches, which I don't want the dings and scratches at all. It's got dings from there all the way to the bottom. This booger never missed a step all the way down the stairs. Alright, so you guys are going to take a little nap while I go out and wash this barrel off. Alright, so I went out and degreased it. Applied the degreaser, wiped her down, washed it off, applied degreaser and wiped it down and washed it off until such time as it didn't change the color of the paper towel and the water just laid smooth and slick on the barrel instead of bubbling up like it does. You know, when you got grease on something, the water will you know, bead up. That's the word I'm trying to use. Alright, so put some of this good stuff on here. You're not supposed to get this on your hands. So whatever you guys do, don't get this stuff on your hands. I think it'll cause birth defects in your family for the next 7 generations or something. Not sure. I like this super glue because it works quicker. You don't have to leave it on very long. Run outside, wash it off, bring it back. We're going to do that little bit of applying it and washing it off. We're going to do that a few times and see if that doesn't begin to change the color of the metal. Alright, so we get to dry it off again after another trip back there. I can't say that I can see the color changing any at all yet. Well, we'll put on another coat, see where we go from there. The rag's changing color, it's getting rusty looking. Alright, let's go. This may work, it may not. Either way, we're going to make a try. Back to sleep while I go out and wash it off. I got up with the chickens this morning and went out to a place called Area 59 thinking I was going to shoot the Steel Challenge out there. It was one of the guys that's involved in it led me to believe they were. I sent him a note asking him, I said, I understood that you shoot the steel challenge on the fourth Sunday. What should I bring? He says, well, just bring the same stuff you do to your regular shooting club. Well, I guess he didn't actually say that they were going to shoot the steel challenge, but he didn't say they wasn't either. This was out there the other side of one of the local towns. It was about an hour drive out there and an hour drive back. But I got out there and I found out that they weren't shooting the steel challenge, so excuse me, on the way back, a real big, frog strangling thunderstorm come up, and it was a sight to see. I bet we got probably 2 or 3 inches of water right there off of that. So I came home, and now the backyard is just a big saturated bunch of mud. So I get to walk through the water out there every time I go out and wash off this barrel. Well, I just put on about the 5th coat, and I think the shiny spots are starting to fade off. You can still see it there, you can see that, you can see one here, but a lot of them that were on the end are gone, and some that were up here in this area, they seem to blend it in. So I figure another 5 or 6 coats ought to do the job, and I'll come back to you guys when I've got those 5 or 6 coats done, because there's no point in me boring you with watching me wipe the stuff on the barrel and dry it off and stuff like that. I bought this rifle from Collector's Firearms over on the other side of town. It's a place, it's a gun store and a museum together kind of, because you go in there and they've got old cowboy pistols that are still in good shape that, made in 1860 and 1880 and things like that. Of course, they got good prices on them, like $20,000 or $50,000 for one of them. But anyway, I went over and I bought this rifle, and it was just bare. There was no sights or anything on the barrel. And I had taken a scope that I wanted to put on it, had it out in the car. And so I asked them, well, how about you guys putting a scope on it for me? Could you do it? And then they said, yeah, bring it in. So I took it in. Took them about a half hour to find some scope mounts that would fit it. And they drilled the barrel and and all that, and put the mounts on. Didn't charge me anything extra. All I paid for was just the rifle. And you'll notice that the bigger, more successful companies, I guess they do stuff like that. Get a little better service. You pay a little more when you buy stuff, but you get service for it, and that made me happy. So, and I noticed that it was a good thing probably if this happened, because these scope mounts, at least the front one's a little bit loose. The back one's still tight. So I'll have to pull these screws out and put some new Loctite on them and put them back in. Good thing that it happened, I guess. Now I won't be going around with a floppy scope. Well, I think that's about 12 coats that I've put on it. And now to oil it up. They don't tell you how many coats to put on. That's up to you. They say put it on until you have the color you desire, until you reach the desired depth of color. So that's what I've done, and I think you'll agree it looks pretty darn good. So now all I have to do is put it back together and try not to do that again. So that's what we're going to do. I'll take it back upstairs, stick it together, tighten up the scope mounts, put the scope back on it, put everything back together, and we'll be happy. Alright, so we get our little metric Allen wrench here. I think it's interesting that the threads are metric, but you find that a lot. Probably made in China for Savage, who can say. Anyway, whoever did it, they did a good job. see if I can get this one started back in. Yeah, I think we can. That one's starting real nice. And as usual, I dropped the wrench. Probably the clumsiest guy on YouTube. Alright, I gotta get my wrench back. Okay, let's try it again. Now I'm supposed to let this blue cure for 24 hours with a oiled up barrel. And I'll let it do that, but the video will be long over when it's through, you know, curing up the finish. Alright, there we are, we got that on. Now we got to do something about this loose scope mount. I have to figure out what kind of Allen wrench that is and what size, and I'll be right back with you. Well, the scope mounts are imperial, so I had to get it the right Allen wrench, but I think I've got it now. Tiny little boogers, probably 440, what it looks like, because I just bought some the other day for another job. So I'll just put a bit of the Loctite on the threads, and we'll just ease it back in the hole. Well, get a good grip here. I got Loctite on my little pair of scissors on my pocket knife, my imitation Swiss army knife, and the little scissors are hard to operate now. I've tried hard to clean it off. Didn't work very good though. Alright, that's probably tight. I don't want to strip out that tiny little screw. This one was loose too. I guess they would be. Alright, so a bit of Loctite on him. Whoa. Well, if a little's good, a whole lot ought to be real good. And you're supposed to let the stuff cure for 24 hours before you use the scope for anything, which will be just fine with me. I don't have any plans right now. And I guess I might as well check the back ones as well. But at this point, I think we're just about finished with the repair. All we got to do is shove the bolt back in, put the scope back on them, and it keeps turning a little bit, so it must not have been tight enough. I think that's probably tight now. Seems to be. Alright, so I'll play with the other mount while you guys take a little nap, and then we'll look at putting the scope on. Alright, so put the scope back on it. But so it's redone. With my eye, I can still see an imperfection here and there, but probably nobody else will. All right, folks. There may or may not be a joke after this. I haven't made my mind up yet, but there you are. Damages from dropping it down the stairs have been repaired. I guess wouldn't hurt to put the bolt back in it. There we go. I even put the tiny little magazine. There we go. All done. Sven goes running into the veterinarian office, screaming for help, carrying his limp dog in his arms. The veterinarian was Ole, and Ole says, well, bring him back here and put him on the exam table. So Sven did, and Ole looks him over, and examines the body from one end to the other, and he says, well, Sven, he says, I have to tell you, regrettably, your dog is dead. Sven says, no, it can't be. He says, he can't be dead. You didn't check him good enough. Well, Ole says, I could run some more tests. Sven says, well, run more tests. He says, I can't believe my dog is dead. So Ole comes back in a couple of minutes with a cat, puts his cat down on the exam table. The cat walks around the dog, sniffs it, paws it a couple times. Ole says, well, he says, the cat thinks your dog is dead too. And Sven says, oh, no, he can't be dead. I just don't believe that. So Ole says, well, there's one more test I can do. He brings in a Labrador. The Labrador jumps up on the exam table, sniffs Sven's dog, walks around him in a circle and sniffs him and prods him with a paw and shakes his head and walks off. Ole says, well, he says, he thinks your dog is dead too. And Sven says, well, okay, he says, I guess he's dead. He says, so how much do I owe you? Ole says, $650. Sven says, $650 just to tell me my dog is dead? Ole says, well, he said, I would only have charged you $50 just for my opinion. But then he says, you've wanted the CAT scan and the lab tests. Well, that's all, folks. Y'all try to subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. Leave a comment if you got something to say. And above all, remember, keep on keeping on. Bye now.